My friend Javier Milei has apparently won the presidency of Argentina. We're going to be talking about that and why that's important. The reason why it's important, believe it or not, is because that when they call somebody right winger and extreme right, that means it's somebody who is basically Trumpian in comparison, which I think pretty much comports with, oddly enough, with much of our political way of thinking. That's number one. Number two, we're going to be talking about the latest explication, this mindless world of Piers Morgan and others similar to that, and how I saw one of the best explications and disquisitions on the subject from John Oliver. Absolutely, you find it Lex Friedman-esque, Mearsheimer-esque, how everything is changing drastically, and how the world of Ben Shapiro is very important to provide a microscopic laser look at a particular point, which cannot be necessarily disproven, but fails to take into account the entire effort. Recognize what he and others are doing. And by the way, this is not meant in any way as a critique. This is an explanation. Shapiro and Hannity, and some to an extent, have been perfect advocates of the notion of pick your position, stick with it. Your audience will come to you for a particular point of view. They do not want you to change as the situation changes. Like John Maynard Keynes said, when the situation changes, I change my opinion. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the use of misinformation and lies and propaganda. How do you know what you know? The West versus international, and how this is so incredibly important and so importantly critical. I'm talking about people like Mohammed Jihab, the Yellers, Shmuley Botiak, the Yellers, and also this Bassem Youssef. Very interesting. The cardiac surgeon comic who provides an incredible perspective. And again, I mentioned Mearsheimer and others as well. So we have a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. I thank you for being with us. I thank you, of course, and ask you, of course, to please like this video, subscribe to the video, subscribe to what you're doing, like what you're doing. And please, let's start off with a very important message from our very important sponsor. Dark clouds are gathering as markets shudder. Stocks are sinking, currency stumbling, fear and uncertainty reign. The Middle East, Ukraine, Taiwan, the debt, it's endless. Yet one asset stands firm: gold. In crisis after crisis, gold is there in the background. Its enduring value guards against loss, like a missile shield against incoming. While paper wealth burns, gold persists. Shield your savings against looming threats, war, recession, contagion, and avoid the frenzied panic of the unprepared. Take control in the chaos. Fortune favors decisive action. Get hold of gold now before it's out of reach. And right now, Noble Gold Investments offers a free 5-ounce America the Beautiful coin with every new IRA. Claim your free coin today to secure your financial future. As this new storm gathers, panic looms. And some of the places you were thinking of for your money, well, they don't look so clever anymore. Secure your future against disaster now. Open a Noble Gold Investments IRA and claim your free bullion coin today. Go to LionelNationGold.com. That's LionelNationGold.com. LionelNationGold.com, the only gold company I trust. And remember, there's always a risk of investment and there's no guarantee of any kind. I watch with great particular interest the various goings on of Argentina and the like, to see if how Mr. Milei would do. He apparently has won, and how he has been, in many respects, linked to and considered similar to Donald Trump. Donald Trump, as you know, for the most part, as of today, is non-existent. He will certainly be the Republican national. He will be the Republican nominee. There's no doubt about that. And yet, there is no way that the people who run the election are going to allow him to be president. Now, you also realize this notion of left wing, right wing. John Oliver, and again, I commend this to you. Please go to my Twitter account at Lionel Media, Media, yeah, and you will see this particular link. It's very good. And one of the things which John Oliver speaks about, by the way, and his writers, I don't know how much of it is he and how much of it is his writers, but you have to sit back and recognize things for what they are. I was watching, don't ask me why, but when I watch YouTube, I get involved in these shorts, these things that pop out of nowhere. And what happens is, I find it interesting. There is a guy who teaches you how to butcher chickens. When I mean, you cut chicken pieces into serving sizes, and from that I went to how to raise chickens, and I don't even know why. I don't really eat chicken, but it's fascinating because I can chop a chicken up blindfolded. I can debone it. I can do all kinds of stuff with it, and I just found it interesting. Okay, so there was this one family, this one guy who says, I don't know where he's from. I think it might have been either New Zealand or Australia, and he said, we have a rooster that we had to dispatch. We had a rooster on our property. We liked him. He did a wonderful job, but you know what? He got out of hand. And he bit me a couple of times, and I had an infection by virtue of the claw marks. He's chasing my children, chasing the other chickens, and we had to get rid of the rooster. And we liked him, and he was very good, but we're going to eat him. And they showed him being grabbed and then being dispatched with his head in the kill cone and the giblets, and there he is, fried up. And anyway, now, why was that important? It spoke to the reality of a situation that is just, it's nothing personal. That's the way it is. He's not a bad person. From the rooster's point of view, he was doing a rooster thing, but that is his point of view. So you have to get into the mindset of the rooster, of the person who dispatches the rooster, of the farmer, this is a world you may not like, but that's the way it is. A friend of mine recently came back from a hunting trip, a deer hunting trip, sent me some pictures. And there's always a picture of the catch, the quarry, the trophy, where you kind of turn the head to make sure that you're looking in the eyes of this dead deer. Sometimes you see a bullet hole, sometimes you see the antlers, and you have the rifle that is aside, and you turn it, it's like, look at this. Marjorie Taylor Greene's son, same thing. I'm so proud of my son, he's turning the head. You got the head? Yeah, okay, good. Now, let me explain something to you. I love firearms. I'm more of a handgun person. I've never hunted in my life. I have no particular feeling one way or the other. I think hunting is a rational way of life. It is something that is a hobby. It's it feeds it. I've got no problem with it. I elect not to eat, but that's fine. It's okay. Now, when you show somebody this, they'll say, ew. I say, no. You have to get into the mind of the hunter. The people, what does the hunter think? Don't think about that. Just put yourself, always empathize. Americans can't do this. Americans in particular cannot understand. What does that mean? What does that mean? What do they think? What the guy on the rooster, the one who had to kill the rooster, okay, maybe I understand that, but this is the reality of what's going on. Why do people do what they do? They're not strange. They're not whatever it is. And when you are, how do we say this? When you are in war, you have to ask yourself, is Hamas, the people have, in fact, John Oliver showed something before. Go back to the original people. The original head of Hamas a while back was rather rational, and here he is today. Is Hamas Are these people crazy? Do you believe they are crazy? Anybody? Do you believe they're crazy? Do you believe they're evil? Do you believe Hamas is evil? Evil. Are they evil? Do you believe that they are evil a la John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy? They're evil. Do you believe that Hamas is evil? Do you believe this? When we decided that we were going to go into and bomb the shit out of Iraq because they violated some code, we made it very clear the war starts now. Now, granted, it was different. It was more surgical. But we decided we're going in there and we're going to do it because we are right and screw you and that's it. And we're going in there now. Same thing with Afghanistan. Same thing wherever we decide. We say that's it. Coalition of the willing. We're going to Iraq. We're going to bomb Iraq. We're going to go after Iraq. We're going to do this. Why? Because you had something to do with 9/11 kind of, and you may have weapons of mass destruction. Now, what's the difference between Hamas, any other particular group, guerrilla or otherwise, and us? When you get into what? Now you could say, well, the barbarism, that's different. Taking hostage, that's different. The method, some people fly over, they drop bombs, whatever. These people didn't plan this for 2 years, flew in, did this. Do you think those people who were doing this at the time, do you think all of them were crazy? Now, there might have been some drugs they might have used. Fighter pilots, bombers always had amphetamines and the like. Do you think they're crazy? Do you think they're crazy? Do you think that all those people, do you think the people who support Hamas are crazy? I mean, mentally ill, psychotic. Do you think so? Do you think so? This is important. Do you think they are crazy? They're crazy, evil people. All these. Do you think that they're crazy? Do you think there are people? Do you think there are people who say? And by the way, I have no. I'm asking you a question because I believe that war, the human condition, what mankind does, is barbaric. It's crazy. I think we're all crazy. I think we're crazy in Me Lai. I think Iraq was. I think war is, with the exception, maybe I think of World War II. It's nuts. It's bizarre. It's crazy. And we only see it from our end of it. The folks, and you better understand something. The moment you put a label onto something, you miss the point completely. You miss the point completely. Sometimes I have looked at criminal for a long time. And there are some people, believe it or not, who do some terrible things. There have been people who have been involved in sexual battery and all kinds of things, which by the way, part of their MO is either self-satisfaction or the defiling and the defilement of another human being, pursuant to their own particular pathology. Are they evil? Is it evil? Or is this the way do they even think about evil? Do they say, no, I just want to do this? It's not that I want to be evil. I want to make someone else suffer. You decide they're evil. Nobody ever thinks they're evil. Nobody thinks they're evil. You think somebody else is evil. Somebody may say, I'm going after self-gratification. I don't really care one way or the other. A serial killer does his duty, does his behavior, not to be evil, but to satisfy this need to take a life and to consume a human being. It's not because they're evil. That's your word. They don't say, hey, let's go out and be evil. They say, no, let's go out and let's self-gratify. Let's do this. I'm sorry. When you look at anything and you look at it close enough, you realize there's really not, it's barbaric. Let me ask you this question. And I'm asking a very simple question. Remember, I'm asking a question. I think personally, anybody who says that you are going to go in and kidnap innocent civilians, it's one thing to go after a military, to go after and hit a military installation, a garrison, or whatever it is. But to grab women, to think that this is a part of your you think this is a part of a military operation. What did they tell you? What are you thinking? Do you honestly think that? Women and children? No, that's another that is that's a level of you know what? It's one thing if they said, well, they attacked an IDF group. Okay, there was a time. Remember that one particular IDF soldier who was kidnapped. Remember that? Okay, fine. That's the story. But you went after women and children, and old people, and you kidnap them. That's not military. That's another story. But to them, understand what they say. What do they think? What's in their mind? Are they crazy, or do they say no? This will get their attention. Let me ask you a question. Also, you've heard people argue about whether the evidence is available regarding babies being decapitated, people being raped, this woman Al Shifa hospital. Do you think that there is any chance that information during war can be exaggerated? And do you believe that there's any chance whatsoever that the narrative that has been provided against or regarding Hamas is in any way exaggerated? I've heard people, if you go online, they say, this is ridiculous. Decapitated babies? No, this nonsense. Wait a minute. No, people, I heard people said, no, that's true. That's what I saw. Who saw this? I don't know. But let me ask you a question. Do you believe stories? Do you believe stories of war crimes? Do you? I believe nothing. What I mean to tell you is, I'm not saying they're wrong. I just don't believe it. Remember the woman who said they pulled babies out of incubators? This was in front of testimony, sworn testimony. Remember that? I don't believe anything. Now, what I mean by that is, I'm not saying you're a liar. It means that I am not going to necessarily take this as gospel. I understand this is what you're saying. It very well could be true. It is not beyond the realm of possibility, but I don't believe anything. I don't believe anything about anybody, especially during war. Because Senator Hiram Johnson said the first casualty of war is truth. Do you believe this? Where have you been? Where have you been? Do you understand what's happening right now? This is, I got to tell you something. I don't want to belabor the point, but if you really want to understand this, you cannot watch Western, I hate to say it. There's no balance. There's no counterbalance. And one could argue if you watch international or European stuff, you're not going to get the other side as well. But for example, watch Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro has one particular story. How many times have you heard this? Hamas was the elected party, so to speak, or was elected by the people of Gaza. They voted him. Now they got to suffer. Have you heard this? Have you heard this? Have you heard him say this? It's very simple. They did it. They were responsible for this. They did it. The people of Gaza, they're responsible for this because, after all, they allowed Hamas. They voted Hamas in. Really? Anybody remember the 2006, 17 years ago? Remember the election? This is very critical. Remember the election? You understand this? It works like this. Very, very simple. They didn't win by the majority. They won by a thin plurality. They beat out Fatah, which was basically known as just corrupt. This is the relic of Arafat, and they haven't had an election since. Now, let me ask you something. Do you think the people of Gaza are saying, well, it's up to you. That's your thing. Okay. Let's say somebody turns around, goes in and slaughters a school. We have a school. Somebody does something terrible, and says, you're to blame, America, because you basically allowed, you voted in this government, and this government, since its existence, has been rapacious and has been bellicose and calamitous, and since the beginning. and that you have been responsible for funding, for exacerbating, for fueling, for arming. So therefore, you're going to have to suffer because of your government. So therefore, we're going to do something to you. Now, you would say that is barbaric, that is terrorism, that is stupid. No, you said it's okay to bomb or to go after a country if they voted in some type of regime or something that proved to be problematic, right? Right. Okay. Well, we're doing the same thing to you. No, we're different. Go through every single military operation, covert, overt, intel, military, since the beginning of time, because somebody used this against us. And what I'm trying to tell you, is one thing that the Ben Shapiros and others will never say to you, or, very frankly, those who are the, trying to think of the Max Blumenthal's as well. It's an either or. It's an either or. There's no ability to look and to sift through the reality. I go back to what I said initially. Life to me is a farm with roosters and hens, and this one's acting up and this one's not, and that's it. There are people right now, there are people right this moment, who are ready to involve themselves as shock troops in a variety of ways where they would do horrible things to people. Horrible things. This is the way we work. And when you have this Piers Morgan and others, and by the way, if you missed this, it doesn't really matter. But he has this show called Piers Morgan Uncensored. And there's something so chicken shit about somebody who blocks you when it's like, I never even follow them. I don't call him. I don't DM him. I don't refer to him. I don't even know he knew. I don't even know I existed. And to have somebody block you, it's so unmanly. It doesn't really matter. But you're in the business. For all you know, you idiot, anyway. Watch what he does. And it's such a very apodictic, Manichaean, black or white. Question number 1. What do you think of October the 7th? Number 2, do you denounce Hamas as a terrorist organization? And that's it. That's it. John Oliver has one of the best, and when you say balanced, that's a misnomer. It's the other side's perspective. This is what they're thinking. During the Civil War, Shelby Foote, in one of his books about the Civil War, talks about a general who spoke to a captured Confederate soldier. And the general says, "Son, why are you fighting us?" And he said, "Because you're here. This is my land. This is my country. It's me." And I don't know if you have any idea of what Netanyahu is doing as a politician. There are people who are furious with him, who said, "What are you doing?" The only way he could win is by having this alignment with, they say, right wing. I don't understand why. Why is war always right wing? Would you think that Stalin was left wing? He was a communist. And Mao, would you call Mao left wing? Okay. Well, when they were bellicose and they were, doing their thing, why weren't they called? See, because the media have this idea that once you get a label like this Mele, Javier, that he's crazy, and he's right wing, and he's Trump-like, and he's no, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Stand by for a second, my friend, my dear friend. I ask you to stand by. Please let me remind you to subscribe, like, and also pay very close attention to what is happening regarding somebody, which, by the way, we need to talk to, our good friend from MyPillow. Let me tell you about my great friends at MyPillow.com. MyPillow.com. And by the way, use promo code Lionel. Use promo code Lionel and receive a free gift. No purchase necessary. And yes, I realize that gifts are free. It's a tautology. Get over it. Sue me. So what are we talking about? How about Giza Dream bed sheets, My Pillow 2.0, sheets, slippers, percales, towels, quilts, bedspreads, mattresses, mattress covers, mattress toppers, linens, kitchen towels, bathrobes, name it. Items to luxuriate and relax. And don't forget, Christmas is just around the corner. And yes, it makes a great stocking stuffer, and it's fine for dad or grad. Made by the greatest company from the greatest people in the greatest country. Or call 800-645-4965 if you're OG, and see how quickly Mike Lindell answers the phone. 800-645-4965. But don't forget, only use promo code Lionel. That's mypillow.com. Promo code Lionel, mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. All right, dear friends. By the way, sad news tonight. First Lady Rosalind Carter dies at 96. Remember, for those of you who were around then, does anybody have any memories of Jimmy Carter? Jimmy Carter was considered to be rather effete, very not exactly the most dynamic of presidents and the like. But remember one thing that happened with Jimmy Carter. What about Jimmy Carter that was important? What do we need? What do we need to know? What do we need to know? Who was Jimmy Carter running against? Who was it? Who was Jimmy Carter running against? Who? First time. Who was Jimmy Carter running against? Hillbilly 55, right arm. Who? Who was it? Who was Jimmy Carter running against the first time, dear friends? Who was it? First time. I'll wait. It's important. It's important that we do this. We got to get this right. We got to get this right. We got to get this right. Okay? Think about it. Tell me. Who was it? I wasn't born, Lionel. Did you ever hear about the Civil War? I wasn't born then. Oh. World War II. I wasn't born then. Oh, so, and when you were born, we should wait maybe until you were 18. So you honestly, are responding to something because you weren't born then. It was Gerald Ford. Okay. Peanut farmer. What was his take? Why did he win? What was his, let's go back. And by the way, whether you were born then or not, what was his take? What was it? When was it? And by the way, Gerald Ford was made to be this, he's this great guy. Gerald Ford was probably one of these Allen Dulles corrupt folks who botched and tried to fudge the Warren Report. Jimmy Carter was a puppet who ran against Nixon. What? Equity, Vietnam War, that's already done. What was Jimmy Carter's? Think about, what was it about? Anybody? What was his angle? What was he? Not peanut farmer, what else? What was it? Try. Pretend you know what I'm talking about. Pretend that you understand what I'm saying. Just pretend. What was his thing? Honesty in government? Okay, but what was it? Jimmy Carter, Southern, kind of laid back. Allman Brothers liked him. He was already he was just, remember he was a nuclear submarine not commander. His brother Billy, Ruth Stapleton Carter, his sister, Miss Lillian. Remember that? His whole thing. Two deals which were the most important. Part of the scam. We'll let you be president, but two things. Number one, he gets Zbigniew Brzezinski. Anti-Russia. He had a hard-on against Russia. Mika's daddy. Absolutely crazed. He did not care about the Mujahideen. Did not care anything. Remember, Bin Laden was our friend. Bin Laden was our buddy. Bin Laden was Mujahideen and all that. Remember that? He wanted to say, we're going to give Russia their Vietnam because of what they did to Poland. But he fancied himself. He was really a weird guy. And the second thing was when they made him get, have Paul Volcker as the Fed chairman. That was it. Remember, was it 20-something% interest? I mean, it was horrible. And then, of course, there was the Iran hostages. Was that Jimmy Carter's fault? He's a commander in chief, but was that Jimmy Carter's fault? Was that it? I don't know. Reagan came along and it was perfect. It absolutely was perfect. Remember the image of this. Remember the sweater. He said there's a malaise, and he talked about turning down the thermostat. Remember gas lines for the first time, odd and even. Remember that? It was incredible, absolutely incredible. It was something that we never really forgot. It was just incredible. But I don't remember that because I wasn't born then. Somebody actually wrote that. Somebody said I wasn't born then. Wow. FDR, depression, I wasn't born then. World War I, wasn't born then. Do you study any history? No. Do you care about anything that happened before you? No. And somebody tells me that even when you were born, and maybe when you were in time, I don't think you were particularly necessarily up to the role of being an observant. No, of course not. Who came after Ronald Reagan? Ronald Reagan. Genius. Now, where's Trump? Where's Trump? Where's Trump been? Tell me where he is. Tell me where Trump is. And I know a lot of Trump fans. Where is he? Tell me. Where's Trump? What is he doing? He's not paying attention. He's not doing anything. He's not providing any particular any focus other than his look what they're doing to me. And I tell you what, this has been very, very, very exceedingly effective in terms of what it has done to him, in terms of taking his eye off the prize, so to speak. Eric Thaddeus Walters says, my interaction with Americans is limited to visiting students and visitors. I'm at an unprecedented loss for having any pulse on the American zeitgeist. How many, if any, more red pill moments do USA friends need to awaken? Oh, dear friends. I do not know. And that's such an excellent point. The thing is, Eric, if I went to Rome or Roma, I would say, tell me the way the Romans think. Tell me the way the Italians think versus the Romans. Tell me the various classes of Roman. Tell me about their various perspectives. Tell me about who they are, what they think, and why they believe that which they do. I would want to know that. Same thing here. Let me tell you right now about this particular group. And when I say this, of the folks watching and those writing, I would say the following. And it is meant with love, with due love, not in any way some kind of sarcastic attempt at humor. But I mean this. You will see that people have, for the most part, a rather rudimentary understanding of what is going on in Israel. Rudimentary at best. Rudimentary. Abecedarian. Elemental. Kind of a good guy, bad guy. But here's the thing. No ability to understand the inner workings of what people think. What would you think if you were in Gaza? What would you think? There's a piece that the New York Times did. It's in Oliver's piece. And there's these little kids talking about it. And this one kid says, I want to go home. I want to be able to sleep. I'm trembling. They're in these camps. They're just, and yet you will turn to people like Ben Shapiro, who does a very good job doing his thing. And his idea is very simple. Tough titties. That's the way it goes. Sorry, you voted in Hamas. What are you going to do? That's it. I feel for you. And I think he does. I don't think he's a bad person. But in his world and within the mindset of his particular show, it's I don't care. You asked for this, and we're going and give the hostages back, and maybe we'll talk about quote ceasefire or whatever it is. Now, one could argue, I don't know if Hamas is doing anything now. They certainly did then. They did it October the 7th. And what they did was reprehensible. It was terroristic. Call it whatever you want. No doubt about that at all. But listen to what they're saying right now. I don't care. That's your fault. And Americans love that. Is that it? That's it. Is that it? That's it. Okay. Very simple. And it's not simple. It is not simple. It is beyond complicated. It is at a level of complicated that you cannot believe. That's all I'm saying to you, dear friends. That's all I am saying. I want to remind you of a couple of things, too, if you don't mind me telling you this for whatever it's worth. And I mean this absolutely fantastically. Oh, yes. On February the 3rd, I hope this will be long gone. The problem will not be resolved. I hope this particular iteration of the Gaza horror will have been taken care of. The problem will never go away because these people are not going to leave. They're not going to leave. Israelis are not going to leave. Palestinians are not going to leave. There is not going to be an issue that is in any way a resolution of the matter. It's not going to happen. Okay, let me just put it to you that way. How this works, I don't know. And by the way, spending time on all kinds of history is one thing. But irrespective, February 3rd, I want to see you. Because what I want you to do, and I want so much, I want somebody to say, this is my dream. This is my dream. That somebody says to me, thank you for making me feel comfortable with not necessarily having an apodictic answer to the problem, but in being able to appreciate all of the nuances, to think about, yes, the history, but this perspective, that perspective, what is happening now, the history, how Bibi works in, what's going to happen to the future. There's this one particular piece at a hospital where they're screaming at members of the Israeli government that says, look what you're doing. And by the way, there are people who hate and despise Hamas. There are people that you're not hearing them, but there are people who are saying, look what you did. How is this helping us? I had a house. My children had a home, had a room. We have nothing because of what? What have you done for us? How have you helped us? How have you? You're not going to hear this too often, but they're there as well, especially people who are afraid of having their own throat slit because there's a lot of folks who are rather bloodthirsty. This is a different mentality. And what I love about this issue, I hate the story. But what I love about the complexity of it is it changes constantly. Just as politics changes, just as the road to 2024 changes as well. Thank you so much, my friends. Eric Thaddeus Walters, thank you for your love and your kindness. Keeping it straight, moving in the right direction. I mean that sincerely. We will see you tomorrow, my friends. Same time as usual, 8 a.m. Until then, we always say thank you so much for being with us. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell. Like. It means everything. And as far as Trump goes, They're going to hand it to Newsom. They're telling you right now. They're showing you. They're basically they're telling you. I knew he would be the nominee, and I thought maybe there was a chance at some point, but they're obviously going to. They're just going to. It's just nobody's going to challenge his election. Nobody's going to challenge anything. They're going to just give it to him, and he might very well just win it on his own, but you'll never be able to tell. Bet on it. As of today, now tomorrow something unforeseen could happen. It remains to be seen. Thank you, dear friends. Have a great night. Don't forget these words. The monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Ta-ta.